All right, we are now live on Facebook in the Freedom Initiative Facebook group. I'm here with Cadence Ford, and she's going to share with you how you can increase your emotional intelligence for less overwhelm and more fulfilling relationships. A little bit about Cadence. Cadence is a certified emotional mastery coach. She is the founder of that EQ coach, and she's co-founder of the Emotional Mastery Advocate program along with me. I'm also one of the co-founders of that. One thing she says is that true freedom is being aware of emotions, not being controlled by them. When we can regulate our emotions, life becomes more joyful, fulfilling, and free. So thank you for being here with me, Cadence. Can you tell us a little bit about why this topic of emotional intelligence is so important to you?
Hi, Justin. Thanks so much for having me, and thank you for that intro. Um, Emotional intelligence is so important to me because I feel like they are fundamental skills that every person needs to have freedom in their lives. So, having these skills to be aware of and regulate your emotions, being able to create freedom of choice because you're not controlled by past subconscious beliefs, and then being able to have really fulfilling relationships through being able to connect with others empathetically, being able to communicate with empathy, and being able to co-regulate and coordinate with other people to be able to get things done in the world. Because it's all well and good to have control over your own emotions, but if you can't actually communicate and coordinate with people, then you're not going to get a lot done in the world.
That's beautiful. That sounds like an ideal life, and it's unfortunate that more people aren't living more like that. We do have some viewers. Thank you for tuning in, Gemma and Margaret. Margaret, wow, this is the second live you're tuning into today, and I caught you going live yesterday. I think it's a sign that we may have to go live together sometime soon. And interestingly enough, right, Cadence here is an emotional mastery coach. And from what I've seen about Margaret, she has a similar mission and vision to help people with their emotions. And she was talking about some breath integration on the live I saw her talk about also. So it's amazing to see that like we all have different missions and different visions, but sometimes those things align and there are so many people out there to help that we got to go out there because even if we expand our reach as much as we can't help everyone. Like even for myself, I help starting entrepreneurs with digital business. Even if I had 100 clients, it's still not enough to help the people that deserve to have profitable digital businesses. So that said, Cadence, like it's really amazing. I hear the authenticity in your voice when you talk about how you really want to help people with these things. But personally, how did you come across learning more about your emotional intelligence and learning about how to improve relationships? How did you come across those things?
I think I've been interested in personal development for a number of years, like probably from my early 20s. But I came across emotional mastery specifically because I knew Jenny personally, and I knew that she had this program. And I was in a space where I was in transition in my life, and I was feeling a bit lost. I'd had a late diagnosis of ADHD, and just wanted to figure out how to manage that and how to get things done in my life in a way that I hadn't before. And so I did the program, and it was life-changing, just learning all of these different skills. And some of the things were things that I had known that were important before, but didn't necessarily know how to implement or hadn't had success with in the past. And other things were completely new to me, and completely changed things for me. And so going through the program and having my own success and having that transformation, it made me really believe in the program, in what we were doing. And so I went back and trained to become a coach, because I wanted to be able to help other people get that kind of change in their lives.
That's really good. Yeah, I'm gonna ask some more about what does it feel like to go through this life-changing experience? Because that's no small statement. I want to ask you a little bit more about that. But another thing I hear from you here is that you went through this amazing outcome, this transformation, and that's what motivated you to become an emotional mastery coach. And I feel that is the best kind of coach, the best kind of consultant, the best kind of entrepreneur, where you're looking to become a guiding light to help other individuals have the same success, the same outcomes, the same transformations that you have. And for you, it is with emotional intelligence, emotional mastery, better relationships. So when you say that it was life changing, how do you know? How does it feel before and after? What things do you begin to notice where you feel like, wow, this is really great. This is life changing. What makes it a life changing experience?
So a few ways. I mean, the first thing was early on. Um, One of the first things you learn is emotional first aid, which is, ways to regulate the nervous system, to calm down, get out of fight or flight mode and into a relaxed, calm state. And prior to doing the program, I didn't realize that I was basically in like fight or flight mode most of the time. I was just living on edge, living just this low level anxiety running through my system all the time. And going through the program and realizing that and learning ways to actually calm myself down and actually get to that calm green state, it was like I suddenly had more energy, like I suddenly had more space. I suddenly had this ability to respond to things that were happening in my life rather than just reacting and going from crisis to crisis. So that was the first part. And then later on, when we got into things like breaking patterns, I had this I had this pattern where at sort of 4 or 5 p.m. every day, I would get really tired, and it was like my brain would just switch off, like shut down, like, okay, the day is done. We cannot do anything productive for the rest of the day. Um, and then I had a session with my coach around this pattern. Um, and suddenly I'm able to, work on projects that I'm passionate about until like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Like I essentially got an extra 4 or 5 usable hours in the day. So
Wow.
that's an extra like 20 hours a week. Um, to be able to do the things that I want to do, to work on projects that I'm passionate about, to work to make more money, to then be able to spend more time doing the things I love. Like it's just that amount of time, like it's basically an extra day a week of usable time.
Wow.
Which, time is our most precious resource. And we all have the same amount of time in the week, but we don't all have the same amount of usable hours where like we are switched on, functional, energized. And I had a limited amount, and now I have so much more.
Wow, that's amazing. Right. So the transformation, because anyone can say that they've had a transformation, but when you spell it out like that, like I can sense in your voice how beneficial that was. So by implementing some of these emotional first aid techniques, by going through this emotional mastery course, by having your own emotional mastery coach, you had more usable hours in the day. You had more energy. You had more space. You had more capability to make choices, conscious choices, rather than just reacting to things. You had less fatigue. For people who like to measure results, you had 4 extra hours in the day when typically you would just get tired and lay down, take a nap, possibly fall asleep. 20 more usable hours in the day. And in this community of entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants, more usable hours means potential to make more money, to reinvest in your business, to just have more resources to help other people. So that's amazing. We have some amazing people tuning in. A lot more from Margaret. Thank you for all the comments. Jenny Hale tagged Melanie Honda, saying this is the coach I mentioned. You're becoming quite a celebrity here in the Freedom Initiative. Margaret is saying things like, people don't know what they're running away from when they're in the lion state, from crisis to clarity. Yes, lots of good things here. Gemma had a question, and this is the same question I was going to ask you. So it's interesting that Gemma wanted to ask the same one. So you mentioned a better ability to stay in this green zone or this green state. Can you comment a little bit more about what exactly is this calm green state that sounds so beneficial to be in?
Yeah, so our nervous system has sort of different levels of activation. And so when our nervous system is down regulated but still has some activation, that's the green zone. So it's where all the levels of our brain are switched on, the lizard brain, the mammal brain, our higher functioning analytical mind. So we're firing on all cylinders, but also there's a level of relaxation. Our body is in somewhat of a rest mode. We're able to digest our food better. Our immune system is functioning at a higher level. We're able to socially as well. We're more likely to read facial expressions as safe and open. And then when there's that little bit of activation, we start to go into more of a fight or flight. And it doesn't have to be, full. There's different levels of this. There's like yellow, orange. It's like there's a bit of activation, that general stress, like, oh, I've got a deadline coming, and you feel, that little bit of tension. But that actually starts to shut down the unimportant parts of your brain that you don't need in order to run away from a saber-toothed tiger. And then we go into like red zone, which is, like a panic attack. All of the blood pulls away from your trunk and into your limbs so that you can run. Your heart rate beats faster, your digestive system stops. And yeah, so the green zone is where all parts of your brain are on, there's a level of relaxation, and your body's in that rest and digest. And it's a level of autonomic nervous system activation. So yeah, green zone is that calm state.
That's amazing. So the benefits don't just end with more hours in the day, like everything you just mentioned there, right? Like a healthier, stronger immune system, better digestives, being able to read facial expressions as being safe, or just being able to read facial expressions more. That's all really amazing. Gemma says, great explanation. Thanks for that. I totally agree. One thing that I was thinking as you were saying all of that is how scientific this all sounds when you're talking about the autonomic nervous system and you're talking about all these very technical things that I'm not even going to attempt to repeat. It's just very interesting to hear that something called emotional mastery seems to have a lot of basis in science. And when I was first introduced to the idea of emotional mastery, like I said, wow, this course sounds really woo woo. I wonder how beneficial it actually is. But now, after talking to more of you emotional mastery coaches and learning more about what it's all about, I see that, wow, there are some very tangible, practical benefits from implementing techniques that really capitalize on the way the human body is designed. So, can you talk a little bit about that? The connection between emotions, something that's very abstract, and the science of it, which is something that can lead to very specific results.
Yeah, so the whole emotional mastery program is all science-based. So there's a lot of neuroscience, especially, in the last sort of 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of research in neuroscience around neuroplasticity, around trauma and how it's stored in the body. And there's been a lot of research into somatic processing. And so the emotional mastery program uses all of this research in the practices, and so everything is science backed and cited. But in terms of the emotions, basically, like when an event comes into the body, into the system, um, there's emotions will arise. And if we're able to process those emotions in the moment, feel them fully, and let them go, then they don't get stored anywhere. They come in and they go out. They're rise and fall like a wave. But if we can't process those emotions at the time, like if they're too big and they're sort of a shutdown and kind of block them or push them away, then they'll get stored in the body as trauma. And it doesn't have to be really big traumatic events to create a lasting trauma. It's all about whether we could process that in the moment or not. And yeah, so, but emotions are yeah, it's a body thing. And
Yeah.
they come in the body, they're stored in the body. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No,
Sorry.
no, you explained it really well. It's a great explanation. I was wondering when I could interject and just take us to the next phase of our interview, but really well explained. I can tell that you definitely know what you're talking about. You're definitely an expert. The ideas, the concepts, they just flow. So, for some practical advice for individuals who are tuning in, if someone were beginning to feel a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit anxiety, a little bit of stress, what are some instantly actionable steps that you would recommend or suggest that an individual like that go through? How can they begin to access some of the benefits of what you as coaches teach individuals?
Yeah, so there's I could go through a few emotional first aid techniques. Those are things that can be done throughout the day whenever you start to feel like tension rise, and we could do that right now.
Sure.
So one of the things we teach is a few different breathing exercises. And but the main purpose of them is becoming aware of the breath and slowing down the breath. Because when we're slowing the breath and the out breath is longer than the in breath, that actually tells your body that you're safe and that you're not running for your life. And so it's a way of kind of consciously controlling this thing that is done subconsciously, breathing, to bring it into a relaxed state. So things like, my favorite is, I call it blowing out the candles, which is where, I'll do it now. And it looks really silly, but it's but it is, by doing it that way, you get to push, and there's that kind of pressure and letting out some of that emotion in the pressure, but also it's slowing down your breath. You can also do box breathing. So breathing in for 4 counts, holding it for 4 counts, breathing out for 4 counts, holding it for 4 counts.
It's really good. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. And you just do that, though, either one of those for as long as you need to start to feel that pressure just melt away. Some other things you can do if what's causing the emotional stress is you're having like a thought pattern that is, so it's not actually anything that's happening, it's just that there's anxious thoughts happening. What you can do is decide on what you'd like to be thinking, and keep that thought in mind, and then shake your head and immediately think the nice thought that you want to think. And it's almost like a little circuit breaker. It just creates enough space to insert that new good thought and then roll with it. And it's literally like a head shake. Just a like.
It's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know there are more tips and techniques and strategies, but I think that is more than enough for our live today. What I'm also seeing is that it's a lot easier to do some of these techniques and strategies when you're doing it with someone else, when someone is explaining it to you, and guiding you through how to do them. Because I'll be honest, like I have been introduced to these techniques and strategies before. I've learned about them, I've read them, but I don't practice them as often as I would like to. But being in front of you during this live and having you explain them and do them yourself, I just feel compelled to do them with you. And I do feel the immediate benefit. Like going live on Facebook, it can be fun, but I'll be honest, there is a little bit of nervousness there too. And I felt some of that subside as we were doing some of these techniques and strategies. So that was really great. Thank you
Me too.
so much for that. Yes, yes. Well, you're doing great, right? I did comment here to show some support to Miss Cadence Ford, as this is her first interview. And you didn't see it in the comments because I'm reading these, but you got a lot of support. They say you're doing well.
Oh,
Gemma
thank
said,
you.
great job. So did Margaret. And sometimes I know this from going live a lot and being very nervous when I first started going live a year ago, that sometimes you just talk about how nervous you feel and the nervousness kind of goes away. Like just address the elephant in the room. Hey, I'm going live. I'm a bit nervous right now, but I'm here to bring the value. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Gemma says, you are both doing great. Thank you so much, Gemma. You're next. I'm bringing you on live for an interview next. Are you ready, Gemma? We're calling you out. Time to overcome your fears and share your messages as emotional mastery coaches. I think this has been a great live. I've really enjoyed our conversation here. The people I do want to interview, the people I do want to go live with, I feel they do have amazing value to share with people out there. I don't just ask anyone to go on an interview with me. That said, where can people find out more about emotional mastery and about you? How can people connect with you more before we conclude this interview?
Yeah, so people are welcome to send me a DM on Facebook. And also, if you're interested in the program, we're about to start a discounted pilot program. And the link to that, are you able to put the link to that in the comments?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And if you're interested to connect with me, find out if we could work together with me as a coach inside or outside of the program, you can also book a discovery call with me. There's a link to that through the page that Justin has linked.
Awesome.
But yeah, DMs are open as well.
Yes. DM Cadence, you can ask any questions you would like about her as a coach, about these emotional mastery techniques, and the emotional first aid that Cadence was talking about is also available as a free mini course. So get in touch with Cadence. She can direct you to how to access the information because, hey, everyone should be able to reduce stress and anxiety and overwhelm at a moment's notice. So that's actually public information. Cadence is a great emotional mastery coach. One thing that I was hiding on my end as an interviewer is that Cadence is actually my emotional mastery coach. So I firsthand know the benefits of this course and this program and how awesome Cadence is as a coach from my experiences. So don't hesitate to get in touch with Cadence. Thank you so much, Cadence, for your time today, and I look forward to going live with you again to share
Thanks,
your
Justin.
mission and value with other people out there. All right, bye everyone. See you next time.